watching Let's Chat.
We all know the path to retirement can sometimes be a little bit tricky to navigate, and that's why we rely on the experts at Hill and Hill Financial. Morgan Hill is joining us this morning. Morgan, good to see you.
Chip, always good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. We do appreciate you sharing your time, especially during the middle of this pandemic. We're about halfway through the calendar year 2020. First question off the bat, is it still time to retire in 2020? Can we still do it if we think the numbers are right?
Yeah, the resounding answer from my vantage point is yes. We've actually been interacting with a number of folks this year that are getting the reduction in force letters that have said, hey, I think I'm going to retire, and then COVID-19 hit. Some people actually said, we can still retire. Maybe we're just a little bit nervous. I've had multiple conversations, but the numbers that I see when folks approach us is a lot of folks are actually prepared to retire. It's just maybe the psychology of retiring into a pandemic. It's kind of like taking a vacation in the middle of a hurricane. Well,
Sure.
It might pass over, but I just don't know that I want to take my vacation now. Maybe I'll wait till it's a little sunnier. So a lot of times it's the psychology and the not knowing that causes people to be a little bit nervous to make that leap into retirement.
You know, it does seem like with this pandemic going on, a lot of people understandably are hesitant about pulling the trigger on retiring. What advice would you give them? And again, providing their numbers are okay.
Sure.
What would you say?
Well, yeah, one of the things that we encourage, Chip, is to actually put a blueprint. You know, I came out with a book a number of years ago called Building a Better Retirement. So I use that analogy of building. And we actually have written income plans that we produce for the folks that we work with that literally looks at inflation, all sources and uses of money, cost of living adjustments, what kind of expenses that you'll need. And we actually put a graph together. One of the things that we've been doing as folks have been coming to us is we say, well, let's put a plan or a blueprint together. It's kind of like this. If you're getting ready to build your house with all the boards and bricks and then a storm blows through, and you lose a couple of boards and bricks, can you still build the house that you dreamed about? Well, let's put a blueprint together. So that's that written income plan. So I encourage the listeners today and people watching, do you have a written income plan? And if you don't, boy, that'd be a conversation we would be honored to have with you, to put some numbers in print to paper to say, yes, I can still retire, versus you're trying to do it all in your head.
All right. My next question, rather, is kind of a two-parter. What do I need to know prior to retiring in this current financial climate, as in right now, today, and the company may be offering me early retirement? What's the smart way to handle that?
Yeah, well, in addition to that income plan, we do a lot of work with some wonderful healthcare professionals. We've had a number of conversations where people are maybe 60, 59, they're 61, they're just prior to that 65 Medicare age, and maybe their company is not providing any medical coverage. So doing that written plan with the contemplation towards health care is extremely important, that you should have that conversation. And sometimes that Affordable Care Act, it can be a little tough to navigate. And then finally, Chip, we actually look at very wide diversification. We think it's important to not only have a diversification of, just a typical market-based portfolio, but maybe also some strategies that don't have risk in the market, strategies that don't correlate to the market, certain types of dividends, for example, that you have a real, what we call 21st century diversification, rather than I've got bank money and then I just have my stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. We think it's a little bit broader. So a written income plan, broader diversification, healthcare concerns covered. Those are the things that we've encouraged people, and we're having active conversations with folks to say, do we have those covered that says, yep, I can still retire during COVID-19?
Morgan, we're sort of crowding the clock here, but I want to fit in one more question. Tell me what the CARES, the C-A-R-E-S, the CARES Act says about retirement.
Well, a couple of things about retirement. One is because of the CARE Act, basically the Coronavirus Aid Act, it made a number of provisions in addition to providing funding for businesses and a number of different folks and the stimulus checks and those types of things. A couple of things for people to keep in mind. One, if you're already in retirement, one of the things that they did, or you're getting an inherited, like an IRA that you inherited from someone, you are not required to take those mandatory distributions in 2020 given COVID-19. So if you found that your portfolio has been dented a little bit, you can have a little bit of a reprieve this year.
Well, it's somewhat ironic, but nice to know that indirectly this pandemic could actually help in the retirement, in beginning the retirement. Morgan, thank you so much. Now, Morgan is giving away 10 copies of his fabulous book, Building a Better Retirement. First 10 callers, you get a copy absolutely free. Just call the number on your screen. The first 10 callers get a copy absolutely free. If you already have a copy of the book and you want to pursue further conversations with Morgan Hill, check out their website, hillandhillfinancial.com, hillandhillfinancial.com.